At Venice Beach, influencer Mia snaps a sunset selfie. In the photo, a drowned figure clings to her shoulder, eyes pleading. She deletes it, but her phone buzzes with more. The figure getting closer. At night, her mirror shows it behind her. "Smile," it gurgles, pulling her into the frame as waves crash outside. The golden hour at Venice Beach was Mia's cathedral, the setting sun her deity. As an influencer with a following that rivaled the population of a small city, she understood the currency of a perfect sunset selfie. Her entire brand, Mia's Golden Moments, was built on these fleeting, beautiful instances, carefully curated and broadcast to a legion of adoring fans. Tonight, the sky was a masterpiece of bleeding oranges and purples, the Pacific a shimmering liquid mirror. She angled her phone, pouting her lips just so, her highlighted hair catching the last rays of light like spun gold. The click of the virtual shutter was a satisfying sound, a promise of likes and comments to come. She tapped the screen to review the shot, her professional eye immediately scanning for imperfections. The composition was perfect, the lighting divine, but there was something else. A smudge? A glitch? Leaning closer to the screen, her smile faltered. Clinging to her shoulder, almost blending into the shadows of her own hair, was a figure. Its skin was the pale, bloated white of something left too long in water, its hair a dark, tangled mass of seaweed and muck. But it was the eyes that made her stomach clench. They were wide, dark, and filled with a desperate, silent pleading that seemed to pierce right through the screen. A wave of revulsion washed over her. It had to be a trick of the light, a weird reflection, or maybe a prankster who had photobombed her at the last second. Her finger hovered over the delete icon. No second thoughts. A picture that unsettling had no place on her feed, no place in her perfectly crafted world. She swiped it into digital oblivion and took a deep, cleansing breath of the salty air, dismissing the strange image as a fluke. She tried again, repositioning herself slightly. The sun was dipping lower, casting long, dancing shadows across the sand. She smiled, a little more forced this time, and snapped another picture, and another, and another. Each time she checked the result with a growing sense of dread. The figure was still there, no longer just a smudge on her shoulder. In the second photo, its waterlogged hand was tangled in her hair, its fingers unnaturally long and skeletal. In the third, its face was pressed against her cheek, the pleading in its eyes replaced by a chilling possessiveness. She could almost feel the phantom coldness against her skin. Her heart began to hammer against her ribs, a frantic drumbeat against the soothing rhythm of the waves. This wasn't a prank. This wasn't a glitch. Frantically, she scrolled through her camera roll, a cold sweat breaking out on her forehead. The figure was in every single photo she had taken in the last 10 minutes. And it was getting closer. The initial pleading look had warped, frame by frame, into something hungry, something ancient and malevolent. In the most recent shot, its mouth was open in a silent scream, revealing rows of small, sharp teeth like a deep-sea predator. She deleted them all, her thumbs flying across the screen in a panic. The digital trash bin icon filled and emptied, again and again. But it felt futile, like trying to bail out the ocean with a teaspoon. Her phone buzzed, a jarring vibration in her trembling hand. It was a notification, but not from any app she recognized. A new photo had been added to her gallery, one she hadn't taken. She opened it with a sense of morbid inevitability. It was a close-up of her own face, her eyes wide with terror. And behind her, filling the frame, was the drowned figure, its head cocked to the side, a grotesque parody of curiosity. Its lips were pulled back from its needle-like teeth, not in a scream, but in what looked horrifyingly like a smile. Mia didn't walk back to her apartment. She ran. The sun had completely vanished, plunging the vibrant boardwalk into a world of neon lights and deep, encroaching shadows. Every splash of the unseen waves sounded like a footstep behind her. Every gust of wind felt like a cold, wet hand on her neck. She fumbled with her keys, her hand shaking so badly it took 3 tries to get the door open. Once inside, she slammed it shut, bolting it, chaining it, leaning her back against the solid wood as if it could hold back the entire ocean. Her apartment, usually a chic sanctuary of minimalist design and soft lighting, felt vast and empty. The silence was deafening, broken only by her own ragged breaths. She tossed her phone onto the couch as if it were contaminated, the source of this waking nightmare. She needed to ground herself, to see her own reflection, and reassure herself that she was alone, that the thing from the photos was just a digital ghost. She walked into her bathroom, her reflection in the large vanity mirror emerging from the dimness as she flicked on the light. There she was, Mia, flushed, terrified, but blessedly, wonderfully alone. She splashed cold water on her face, the shock of it helping to clear her head. It was stress, a hallucination brought on by the pressure of maintaining her online persona. That had to be it. She looked up again, meeting her own eyes in the mirror. For a moment, she felt a wave of relief. But then, something shifted in the reflection behind her. The shower curtain, a simple white fabric, began to move. It wasn't a draft. It was bulging outward, slowly, deliberately, as if something was pushing against it from the inside. A dark, wet patch began to spread from the center of the bulge, dripping brackish water onto the pristine white tiles. A low, gurgling sound emanated from the shower, a sound like water being forced through a blocked drain. It was a wet, choking noise that vibrated through the floor and up Mia's spine. The shower curtain was pulled aside with a single, swift motion. Standing there, framed in the empty tub, was the drowned figure. It was even more horrifying in person than it had been in the photos. Its skin had a sickly phosphorescent sheen, and water dripped from its tattered clothes, forming a rapidly growing puddle at its feet. The smell of low tide and decay filled the small room, thick and suffocating. It took a step out of the tub, its bare feet making a squelching sound on the tiles. It was taller than she'd imagined, its limbs unnaturally long and thin. It moved with a jerky, disjointed gait, like a puppet whose strings were tangled. Mia was frozen, her scream caught in her throat. Her mind reeled, unable to process the impossibility of what she was seeing. The figure slowly raised a dripping hand and pointed a long, bony finger at her reflection in the mirror. Then, it turned its gaze to her, its dark, pleading eyes locking with hers. The gurgling sound in its throat resolved into a single, waterlogged word, a horrifying parody of the encouragement she so often gave her followers. "Smile," it gurgled, the sound bubbling up from its chest. Before she could react, it lunged forward. Its cold, impossibly strong hands clamped onto her arms. It wasn't pulling her toward the shower or the door. It was pulling her towards the mirror. The glass surface rippled like water, the reflection of her pristine bathroom distorting into a dark, churning seascape under a stormy sky. She felt an unbearable pressure, a force that seemed to tear at the very fabric of her being. Her own reflection reached out, its expression one of pure terror, its hands meeting hers on the surface of the glass. The last thing Mia heard was the distant rhythmic crash of waves outside her own window, a sound that had once soothed her, now a thunderous roar welcoming her home as she was pulled, screaming, into the cold, dark world behind the glass.